Hello, Barney Badger Army. If you're new to the show, we're an entertainment channel where we do vlogs, video games, streams, movies, and shorts, and all manner of entertainment that you guys might like to see. And I hope you guys enjoy that, as I really enjoy being an entertainment channel, as niching down would drive me insane. On today's show, we're going to talk about the latest episode of Xmen 97, and this is Life or Death Part 2. Now, it's a little bit more than that, but we'll get back to that in a minute. As I turned the controller on eagerly at 7:30 this morning, when I looked at the TV guide, yes, you still need a TV even though you've got the TV guide, you would need to realise that it comes on at 8 a.m. I was heartbroken. Fast forward till 5:30 this evening, I finally managed to watch it. Yay! And you see the epic intro where we get to see more than just the X-Men intro. We get to see Marvel Zombies. We get to see all these different things. It comes up with Marvel Studios, and it comes up with all these different cartoons that they've created, and we get a rocking drum beat ready for the X-Men theme tune! Hell yeah! And of course, there's some changes. After last week's dramatics, we get to see some changes where we have Nightcrawler in there, and many other different characters are now in the introduction rather than some that were there. Boo. Which was very sad. And that being said, we now whisk ourselves off to a Storm and Forge related adventure. Or do we? The title is very misleading, as we get to see what Charles has been up to. Yes, Charles is not dead! As classified in the intro, even more, Charles is not dead. He was just in a spaceship, in the Kree and all this business, faffing about with Ronan the Accuser and everyone else. He was off playing space adventures, while everyone in Genosha was casually being mutilated. So there you go. But we find out that he's obviously getting married. Got a new mech suit which allows him to walk, which actually made me feel really weird. Seeing Charles Xavier walk in anything is really weird. Like, the character is always known as a wheelchair user, and then you see him walking. It feels weird. So, that being said, with his new powerful mech, he then entrusts his new wife-to-be with all the different information about Earth, and wanting to go back and visit, things like that. But then they say that the marriage cannot be taking place unless he gets rid of all his X-Men memories, all the Earth memories, and all this sort of thing. And of course, Charles goes, you know what, that doesn't sound like a great idea. And that creates quite a lot of conflict. But I'm not going to tell you what happens in the end. But all I will say is that this episode is absolutely cracking with another cliffhanger. And it's not quite as over the top as last week's episode, but you can tell that they're brewing something rather good. And you think, ooh, Charles is back. What's going to happen to Storm and Forge? Well, then, there you go. Storm, of course, is fine after last time's incantation with the demon, but Forge gets bitten, if you remember correctly, on his shoulder. And as Storm suffers from all these different weird and wonderful nightmares, Forge, of course, comes to the rescue and helps save her from the demon. And of course, Storm is very agoraphobic, doesn't like enclosed spaces, and the demon puts her in a coffin. And of course, Forge comes to save the day, gets very knackered from this. After all, he's then using like Doctor Strange style magic that reminded me of No Way Home, actually, which is quite interesting, good referencing in. And Forge is very knackered, and there's like blood and purple ooze all coming from his shoulder. So they have to go on a bit of a submission to find the special cactus to heal Forge. And of course, that ends up going really well, which is fantastic. I really like the ending to that. And of course, Storm manages to defeat the demon in great time and rescue Forge, and of course, get her powers back just in time for Charles to come back on the scene. And Nightcrawler, apparently, soon, which is going to be fantastic. Animation was great this episode. Music was on point. Drama was mid, but on purpose. After last week's insane, shenanigans and what was going on, you need something a bit sort of calmer, But that being said, this is a brewer. All this stuff with Charles is going to brew to perhaps an intergalactic war. That's what I think, anyway. And then you've got, Forge being on the scene again, a nice bit of romance with Storm, Storm's new haircut, rocking it in the desert, and all these sorts of things that are coming up. Now, will the demon come back to try and claim Storm? I think they will, and I think they'll be after Forge as well. So that storyline isn't completely finished. Because it's a demon, yeah, you're going to come back, isn't it? But I really like the fact that Storm almost transformed mid-air from plain clothes to her costume. I'm not quite too sure how she managed that. Maybe she had one in a little duffel bag or something. But there you go, and it looked cool on the telly anyway, with all the lightning crackling across the desert. So that was really cool. And yes, and of course there's some other bits and pieces that happen. Sinister's here as well. Sinister is back causing trouble, and you find out that he had a hand in what happened in Genosha. So that's pretty freaky. But yeah, music was on point. Voices were up and down. We didn't get any Wolverine this episode, which was a bit upsetting. I want to see some Wolverine. I always want to see Wolverine, don't we? And of course, we didn't get any Jubilee at all, really. It was literally Charles in space and Forge and Storm. So hopefully next week we'll get some more time with the other characters to breathe, which is fingers crossed. Because I want a meaty Wolverine storyline soon. We haven't had one yet. I want some Sabretooth versus Wolverine action. That needs to happen before the end of the season. Really does. But yeah, I really enjoyed today's episode. Voices were a bit off and on. I'm still getting used to the Charles Xavier voice because I swear it's different from the original one. He just, I'm sort of there, but not really. He sounds slightly different, and I'm getting used to it slowly, but it's taking time. Wolverine and all the others sound really good, and I'm very happy with the vocal talents of all of those. And Storm is fantastic. Forge was great. Cable's cool as well. There's so many good voice talents in this cartoon, it's insane. And it does keep the retro appeal, which I love. Really enjoying that. They seem to keep it really nicely retroed, and you feel like you're watching something from the 90s. It really feels like you want to have a cup of tea, some biscuits, and sit down and watch Xmen 97. That's definitely the vibe I get each time I watch it. I just wish that they'd have put it on every Saturday morning. That would have been perfect. But hey ho, I'm really pleased with every episode we've watched so far. I really loved it. And so I can't wait to see how this intergalactic war happens and what happens next with Storm and Forge and how everything is going to come back together. And will we see more of the Sinister, Mr. Sinister, in the coming weeks? Who knows? Thank you very much for watching, guys. Look after yourselves. Keep safe. Keep well. Much love, everyone. And I'll see you in the next vlog, video, stream, or short. I would give this episode a good solid 7 out of 10. It's a starter of some new storylines. Can't wait to see what happens. Bye. See you next time.